Hey, I'm going to walk through making a Quinzhee, which is this shelter here. It's a snow shelter, and it's very similar to what the Inuit build, but it's not needing kind of compact snow. We get this powdery snow here where I live, and this is a way to make a primitive shelter out of insulative snow, and it's quite comfortable actually, and it's very warm. And you just get in it and you build it. You make a mound. You get in it, and it's quite cozy. So let's work on making a Quinzhee shelter. So this is Quinzhee, and that's how you kind of get in. You can shape your opening however you want to. The sticks in are to help determine how thick the walls are going to be, and you just basically make a mound of snow and put sticks in that are basically equal length. You want about 10 to 12 inches around. This is what you get. In a place that has permafrost, like the Arctic and the Antarctic, you're not going to be able to make an igloo. The closest you can get is pretty much something like this. And it's a cool thing to do with the kids when you have good snow. Like we've just had some snowfall very recently. Climbing in, this is big enough for me. And I don't want to drop my camera, but climbing in, I can kind of give you an idea. You see the sticks that are inside tells me that I shouldn't dig any further, but I get to dig around, and it's quite roomy enough for me to come in here, and I could make the mountain bigger to fit someone else, or make a sleeping platform or whatever. But right now this is real primitive, and that's kind of what I like to do, something quick and dirty. This is the outside, this is the entrance. So just kind of quick and dirty, kind of Quinzhee winter shelter. Not quite an igloo because we don't have the snow for it, but there you go. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is find a place that's relatively safe. Just for filming purposes, I'm choosing this area. I'd prefer to do it more out in the open, like over there. But we have some overhanging trees that could freeze, and a good wind, if it's really cold, and you'd end up with a branch on your head. So again, the location is very important. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just demoing how to put it together. And right now, I've kind of marched out a circle about the circumference I may want it. I may actually want it smaller than this, because I don't want to exert myself too much. I don't want to get too sweaty, too hot, especially it's cold. It's probably about 10 degrees right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my digging tool, after marching out the circumference of the Quinzhee here. Okay, so that was my first pass. I'm going to make another pass and make the mound a little higher. And I think with the amount of snow that I have here now, I should be able to make one more pass, and it should be high enough to at least cover me and my body. So that's basically what you want to do. I've gone ahead and taken my coat off because you will get sweaty, and hypothermia is not your friend in the cold, meaning you don't want your core temperature to drop below its normal temperature. And that can happen through being wet, cold, overexposed. And sweating is not your friend. So I have some dry clothes or a dry jacket to switch back into or to put on after I'm done with this part of the work. So we make the mound and then we're going to hollow it out. But before we do that, hollowing it out, we have to put some sticks in around the sides and the top to act as a gauge to the depth that we need to dig out. So I'm gonna make one more pass and continue on. Okay, I've gotten the mound up to just around my height. I'm about 5'8", and I'm guesstimating the circumference. It's probably about 15, maybe 20 feet at the base. And again, that's a guesstimation for those people that like or need exact measurements. Just make it as big as you think to lie down comfortably, and then tall enough to maybe sit up comfortably once inside. And that's after you make an allowance for at least 12-inch thick walls and a ceiling. So having a shovel, it comes in real handy. It's basically cheating because technically I'd need a piece of bark or even my bare hands to just scoop up this pile of snow, which would take a lot of work and a lot of energy. But to expedite the process, I opted to bring a shovel and use. So now once we get the mound the proper dimensions, width and height, circumference and height wise, then what we want to do is we're going to want to wait and let it what's called sinter. And that's with an S, I believe it's spelled. And that's just to let the snow settle so it's not so powdery, which will help prevent it collapsing on you once you start to dig it out. So you really want to wait probably about 90 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 hours, depending on the circumstances, depending on the conditions of the snow. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and pat the snow down to help the sintering, because I don't want to be out here that long. I got other things to do today, unfortunately. So just know that the important aspect of this is to allow the snow mound to settle before you start hollowing it out. Otherwise it may collapse on you and then you end up, in an emergency situation for sure. So it's good to have a partner help you in case an accident happens. They can pull you out or whatever. Go get help. So I'm going to go ahead and use my shovel and pat things down and kind of shape it a little bit. So here's the mound. I didn't bring any measuring tools. I just know it's big enough and it's tall enough. You can always make it too small. I don't think you could make it too big, depending on how many calories you want to burn, how much you want to sweat in the cold, which is not recommended. But that's my circumference. And we had decent snowfall last night, so that's the reason why I chose to come out and do this today. I've been meaning to do it, just never had enough adequate snow. But we had some pretty decent snow, and so this is good material and a good opportunity to try and make this video. So here we go. I'm going to let this sinter, or let it wait, set and settle. I tamped it down a little bit with my shovel. And we got to do that for safety so it doesn't collapse on us when we dig it out. And we'll come back. Okay, I've got my mound pretty much as high as I needed. It's almost about as tall as me. I could possibly go even higher if I wanted to. Probably have to make the base a little bigger, circumference a little more wider. But just for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to leave it as is. And I've got my handy shovel. And again, this is cheating. It's just to make it faster. If you were caught in a survival situation in the woods, possibly you'd probably have to use your hands, or a big piece of bark if you could find one. Maybe your sled if you have a sled, you know, skis, if you have good wide skis, whatever it would take to help you alleviate some of the work of piling up this amount of snow. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm cheating, and I'm not going completely primitive, and I'm using a nice shovel. It makes the work a lot easier. So anyways, what I want to do now is I want to let this center, meaning settle, let it wait a little bit, because if I don't and I start digging out, this light fluffy snow will collapse on me, which could be a dangerous situation. You could suffocate. It's better to do this with two or more people in case something like that were to happen. So in the meantime, I want to let this sit for, I'm gonna probably let it sit maybe about a half hour or so. But technically you'd probably want to let it sit maybe 90 minutes to 2 or 3 hours if you have that kind of time. But again, hopefully you're not completely alone, and you can wait a little bit of time for it to settle. Use your shovel or digging tool to tamp it down to help compact the snow a little bit, and then have somebody spot you as you dig it out. So we're gonna let this wait, and then we're gonna come back and put sticks in around as a gauge, and then we're gonna dig it out. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little longer, and I've taken some dry twigs that I've broken to about my forearm length from wrist to elbow. It's about 12 inches. You want sticks that are 10 to 12 inches. So what I'm going to do is start just taking the sticks and start inserting them in, just kind of all the way around. I want the top especially. Just like so. So I'm gonna get some more some sticks and just continue to make this look like a porcupine. All right, so this is the start of a survival shelter for winter. We have light, fluffy snow instead of hard-packed styrofoam-like snow that, like the Inuit people, can cut blocks out of and build like a proper house. In my region here, we don't get that kind of snow, so we just had a decent snowfall very recently, and I want to come out and I'm at a public park and take the opportunity to show how to put one of these Quinzhee shelters together using light snow. And basically I just piled up a mound of snow and I'm sticking sticks in to act as a gauge to the depth of the wall and the ceilings that I'm going to hollow out from the opening that I'm choosing here, so I don't have it collapse on me or dig myself all the way through. But my camera's about to die, and I gotta go charge it. And while I'm gone, I'm hoping nobody comes and messes with it, but you know how people can be. So I'm just wanting to show you all this real quickly, and I'll come back and finish. Hopefully this is still intact and I can finish this out. If not, this is the start of a Quinzhee shelter.